If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It just goes to help fund the software and the hosting. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight I've got Dave Lamb, famous Dave Lamb from 3RHA. Hey Dave, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Very, very good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm great, mate. Really good to see you again, even though it's the second time we've done this. But
It is.
I won't mention what happened last time. It was a bad recording, so we decided to do it again. Right, so it's a normal question, is what we ask everyone. Where did you grow up? Why did you join the army? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? So if you just want to start off by just letting us know where you grew up, what it was like, and why you joined the army.
Not a problem, mate. And thanks for, just before we start, thanks for having me back on again. The first one wasn't good, medical reasons, whatever. But yeah, born and bred in Newcastle, so a proper Geordie. And that's all I know, actually, is Newcastle upon Tyne till I was 18-year-old. I had a really good upbringing, a loving family. My parents were a little bit older, shall we say, than the rest of my mates at school and stuff. But that didn't hold me back in any way. Very sporty at school. As I say, I had a normal upbringing. Wasn't the best student at school. Enjoyed it. Really did enjoy my upbringing. And why did I join the army? I haven't got a clue. It just came out of nowhere. I left school with not many qualifications. That was my fault. I was bright enough. But school wasn't for me. I enjoyed it. I was one of the popular kids at school, but I just wasn't that academically. I wasn't interested, to be honest. So yeah.
Like you say, though, school's not for everyone. And
no, I enjoyed it.
I mean, really,
don't get me wrong, Frankie. I actually enjoyed school. I was good.
Yeah,
I was good at it, but it didn't. It was something that didn't grab me. Which sounds strange because at school, it's your education. It should grab you. So when I left at 16, I think I had 2 CSEs back in the day. That's how long ago it was. 1983, I left school.
You old gay.
No, I am. I know. Don't say that. I am. I know. So I left school. Didn't have a few minor qualifications, and I had a cousin who was older than me. He used to work as a labourer on a building site. Got me a job with the company, just mixing cement and laying the odd brick and stuff like that. And I thought, yeah, this is great. Getting a wage packet every Friday, as it was then. You got your wage packets every week, and it was cash in the wage packet. And that fell through because it was cash in hand. Then, do you remember the old YTS schemes?
Yeah.
Got myself on one of them, or I wouldn't say the government got us on. It was the local job centre got us on one of them YTF scheme. 1 day at college, then the other 4 days with a local job and builder. Brilliant bloke by the name of Vic Elliott from Wide Open in Newcastle. Took me on a YTS. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time. I think I was there for about 9, 10, 11, 12 months.
So was that just labouring again, was it?
Yeah, just labouring. But he used to let us lay the bricks and stuff, and he would teach us unofficially. It was like an apprenticeship, but it was an unofficial apprenticeship. And it was great. I really enjoyed that. But then the YTS finished, and he couldn't afford to take me on. he could pay his cash in hand, still saving on the door and stuff. But I thought, nah, I'm not for that. And Ridley Place in Newcastle, I remember passing the Army Careers Office and thinking, oh, that may be a good idea. I didn't have any sort of my parents were a lot older than the other parents of people of my age.
Yeah.
And I thought, shall I join the Army, the RAF or the Navy? Didn't have a clue. I had two uncles who were both W1s in the Army, but they were, I'd never really seen them. One lived down south, one lived in the Midlands, had fantastic careers. In fact, one of them did the lone paper at the Edinburgh Tattoo.
Oh.
And I mean, what an honour that is to do that in the Scottish Regiment.
Yeah.
So I didn't really have any sort of military background or anything. And I just walked past Ridley Place one day and thought, and I just stepped in. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Come back and said to my parents, I'm joining the Army. In the last.
So it was a shock for them.
No, I didn't have a clue, Frankie, honestly, not a clue. So I went through all the tests and stuff as you do. Army Air Corps. And I know you're going to laugh at that. I wanted to join the Army Air Corps. That was my my first choice. Everybody says it. I know, I've heard it.
Yeah,
and I've heard it comment. I don't know why. I grew up not too far from Newcastle Airport. And I used to, as a kid, I used to love the planes coming in and watching them. Where we lived, it was so close, you could virtually see the pilot's face as they came into land and stuff. And I thought, I'll have some of that. Now, not a chance. My maths wasn't good enough. So they said, come back, go away, come back in 6 months' time. Which I did, and it lasted 3 months. So I went back 3 months later. I said, right, my maths isn't good enough for Army Air Corps. What else can I have? Artillery, infantry, or armoured corps. Okay, not a problem. They threw two magazines in front of us. One was Royal Artillery, and one was armoured corps. There was a picture on the front of the armoured corps magazine with a guy in full combats. Oh, sorry, a guy in combat jacket and lightweights. Remember the old lightweights?
Yeah.
And the artillery magazine had a guy in front of it. I think it must have been an M109 or something at the time. He had full combats on. I thought, oh, I'll have some of that artillery weather full camouflage kit. That's how naive I was. So yeah, did all the tests. It really placed in Newcastle. Then the selection weekend in the Midlands, and got offered a place in the Royal Artillery. Came back home and said to my parents, my family, my sisters, I'm joining the Army. This was November. And what do you mean you join the Army? Well, I'm off in March. I've got a place. I've got a place straight away. March 18th, 1985. I walked through, or got driven through the doors of the Royal Artillery Barracks in Woolwich. And the rest, as they say, is history. But,
wow. I mean,
yeah, I didn't have. I mean, there was no military connection, not a real military connection or anything.
No, I mean, it's, it is what it is. It's like I joined. I had two brothers that were in the army. We didn't have like a military. There was no history of military in the army.
Yeah.
In the family. Sorry. Like my granddad was in the artillery. Funny enough, during the Second World War, in one of the coastal defence batteries, searchlight operator he was. But he was territorial. He wasn't like full blown army. Before that, don't really know what don't know much of the history before that.
Same as me, mate. I in latter years, I've seen pictures of both my granddads on my mum's side and my dad's side, and they're both artillery. And I thought, bloody hell, what a coincidence that is. And my granddad on my mum's side wears a cipher so he was Royal Horse Artillery, which I never knew anything about. So you're thinking, oh, you know,
No.
there must have been somebody pulling this to the artillery somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird that when I like you, I went down to Sutton Coldfield to do my selection.
That's a place, yeah.
And I was going for Army Air Corps, along with everybody else who was
What a
joining the Army.
surprise.
Yes. You know, everybody wanted it. I just wanted to.
What is it, the
photographed them.
Army Air Corps? What is it?
Well, I had posters of helicopters all over my bedroom walls. You know, I loved Lynx, I loved Gazelles and stuff like that. That's what I wanted to do. You know, I think we all had Airwolf. It was probably Airwolf on the telly.
Probably, yeah.
That's probably got a lot of answer for. The bloody hell, Airwolf. I got down there and said, there's not enough spaces. You'll have to wait till October. Didn't fancy waiting. Said, what else is there? They went, artillery. What's that?
You did better than me because my maths wasn't good enough.
No, I only just scraped in. I scraped in. I scraped in for the fizz as well. And then I nearly got told I might have to go back. But they said, the artillery. What's that do? Oh, it just does this. And I looked at this booklet and it was all adventure training. I thought, yeah, all right. So I joined that, went home, and my gran was still alive then. So I went in to see her. Said, hey, Nana, I got in the army and I'm going in the artillery. And she was over the moon. And then she told me about my granddad, who was in the artillery as well. And I've got his service book.
Really?
When my mum passed away, she had it in her belongings, so that I nabbed that. So I've got that in a safe place here. So it's got his service from the Second World War and that in it. It's quite cool. So turning up to Woolwich, not knowing anything about the army, not having any expectations.
No, I
bet that was a bit of a shock for your system.
Well, I left Newcastle Central Station on the 18th of March. Got down to King's Cross, and obviously you've got your train warrants to get to Woolwich. Gets picked up at Woolwich in a minibus at Woolwich Station. Bussed up to the Royal Artillery Barracks. Not a clue what that barracks entailed or what it meant or anything. And for the first, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 weeks, I hated every minute of it. I hated it.
Well, I'm not surprised. You weren't meant to, especially in them days.
Funny enough, I was put in a room with, as you know yourself, when you get there, in my day, there was 12 beds in the room. And we all sat there on my beds, not saying a word to anybody. Everybody just checking everybody out and that. Everybody in their suits or their shirts and ties and that. And the bloke called Michael Chalky, pipes up, anybody from Sunderland? And I'm like, oh shit, we've got to mack him in there. We've got to mack him. And then bloke called Jimmy Foley, Paul Foley, as we all know, sat on the bed opposite me, said, no, but I'm from Newcastle. So that gave me the confidence to say, I'm from Newcastle. And from day one, the likes of me, Mickey Chalk, Jimmy Foley, have served a whole career together type thing.
That's mad, isn't it?
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. From day one, minute one, day one, anybody from Sunderland? And I'm thinking, no, not Mackham. And then little Jimmy.
I mean, people listening to this won't realise. I mean, anyone in third and from D Battery now will know what we're on about. Why we're saying that. Dave met these two guys in training at Woolwich, and they went to third as well, and the same battery that he was in all throughout. You know, I mean, that's unusual to say the least.
Mad, it's crazy. And there was guys in the other troop as well, in the different room in the troop. Bloke called Ray Burns. I don't know if you ever come across him.
No, I didn't know.
Geordie. He went to C Battery. A bloke called Chalky White was in another troop. He went to HQ Battery 3 or HA. So there's about 5 or 6 of it who went through basic training together at Woolwich for the 12 weeks, then the training afterwards. And we all ended up with 3 or 8 at the same sort of time. And hang on,
Dave, just got to pause you. I've just noticed it's not uploading from your phone. It doesn't seem to be uploading.
Okay.
Which is weird because it normally does it a little bit at least.
All right.
Well, I mean, all we can do. What we'll do is I'll stop it and we'll start again.
Okay. Yeah. No
In fact,
problem.
no, hang on. I'm just thinking if that's going to cause an issue. No, it'll be all right. I mean, it records to yours. What might happen is that the video and everything comes out of sync. Try not to put your hands in front of the phone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Because I want to try and use the video on this one.
Yeah.
Sit like
No
that.
problem.
Sit on your fucking hands.
Right. Done. I'm on
Right.
my hands.
Hang on, just let me write the timestamp down on that. 15 minutes. Just so I know when to go back and cut. That's all.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, yeah. So we're back into training. Power chalk, you right. Blah, blah, blah. Go.
Yeah. So we all ended up back joining the same regiment, the same battery, apart from two, whether that was fate or it was the Geordie Gunner thing. I don't know, but yeah, but I hated it. Woolwich, I hated every minute of it. Couldn't get on with it.
So was it because the first time you'd been away from home?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. It just seemed to be in the mornings. I used to wake up when we did wake up. If we hadn't been up all night anyway. But bed boxes. I just used to hate the mornings. By 10, 11 o'clock, I was fine. It wasn't a problem. So I couldn't wait to get out of it once. Looking back on it, it was a fantastic period. It was brilliant. And obviously anybody who was junior leaders as well will say the same thing about Bramcott. But at the time I hated it. I couldn't wait to get away from the place. I hated everyone. I used to ring home every night. What have I done? By yourself, what have I done? Me, old man. No, you've had your own bed, lie in it, type of thing, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, I don't know what it was with training. The afternoons were fine, the weekends are fine. It was just the mornings, whether I'm not a morning person.
You're just not a morning person.
I don't know. I don't know. But look,
thinking back, you've reminded me there something. So, I mean, obviously, like, as you know, I did junior leaders. At the same time, I joined 85 as well. And I didn't like mornings, but it was one particular morning I didn't like, and it was Monday mornings because it was battery parade, and I fucking hated it. And I've got this thing where if I get wind in my eyes, the water like hell. I mean, they really do. I can't stop them. So we'd be stood on parade every Monday morning. The wind's coming over the windbreaks, and it'd be hitting my face, and I'd have tears coming down my face. And every fucking Monday morning, troop sergeant, that, will you stop fucking crying? I'm not crying. You're all right, twat. But it was just, it is a shock to you early morning, especially if you're not used to them. And it's like the discipline takes the side of it and stuff like that. And, it's a lot, everything's new as well, you're taking a lot in.
I don't know what it was. It was just the morning time. As I said, by nappy break, 10, 11 o'clock, whatever, I was fine. It's just I used to wake up when we did eventually get some sleep. And dread it. I used to dread it and think, well, I've had enough of this. And as I said, I was on the phone. There used to be a phone box before the days of mobile phones and stuff. There used to be a phone box, 2 phone boxes outside the main gates of Woolwich, in between the camp and the King's Arms, the pub.
Yeah.
And I used to be on that phone every night to my parents. I've had enough. Get us out. No, you've had your own bed, lie in it, blah, blah, blah. But it was fine. But, so why I joined the artillery, not a clue, really. There was no logic behind it. Why I joined the army, there was no logic behind it. But I did. And as I was said many, many times, you've made your bed, lie in it. And I did.
So, I mean, after your basic training, you started doing your trade training at Woolwich, didn't you? Did you do that at Woolwich, or did you
No, we did it at Woolwich, We did the 12 weeks basic training at Woolwich. And then after the 12 weeks, you, at week 5, you pass off the square. Then after your 12 weeks, that's your pass-out parade while the families come down and brilliant, fantastic pat on the backs and everything. And then we came back for another 5 weeks trade training, and I did gunnery training.
Did you choose the guns, or were they chosen for you?
I'm not sure. I think it was probably chosen for it, depending on how sort of intelligent we were. So that means me, Mickey Chalk, Jimmy Foley, and the rest of the three RHA gang, we all did guns. So we weren't that intelligent. But no, it was brilliant. Guns was fantastic. But I broke my leg. I broke my ankle. So I was back squatted in phase 2. So the likes of Chalky and Jimmy Foley and the lads I'd gone through phase 1 training with, they then passed the trade training and went off to 3 RHA, and I was stuck at Woolies for another 5, 6, 7 weeks because of my ankle, because I was unfit to do. Oh, it was at the time. It was. Looking back,
so when you turned up at third, you'd have been the Sprog.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. But my number one in phase 2 training was a massive tug-of-war guy. He was a little jock. A guy by the name of Danny Bonner. Used to be a sergeant, but then got bussed to full screw. So he was Bombardier Bonner, and he was huge in his tug-of-war. And I think that's why. And he said to me, "Look, you didn't fail because you couldn't do the course. You failed because of an injury." And he took me under his wing type of thing, and got me into tug-of-war. And I should have sat all the trade training again. You know, I didn't know. I was the rude boy. Right, you've passed. 5 weeks time, you've passed. So yeah, so the guys I went through phase 1 training with, who went to 3 RHA as a posting, I was about 5, 6 weeks behind them.
The guy's name you mentioned there, Bonner.
Bonner.
Was he first RHA?
No, I think he was 40. He might have been first at some stage. He was a little jock lad, little jock.
Do you know really where he ended up? He didn't.
I don't know.
I had a run-in with an ex-artillery guy who was called Bonner, and he was ex-first. He was, when I met him, he was staff at Collie in the corrective training centre.
Oh, the way he was, he might have ended up there. I don't know, really little guy, jock.
Yeah.
When he speaks, we haven't got a clue what he says because his accent was so strong. But number one he was for Army tug-of-war back in the early
I mean, I don't know if it's the same guy or not. It might be, but I don't have fond memories of him. Put it that way. If he's ever listened to this, don't care. But yeah, I don't know. It cost me a couple of days remission. He did. Yeah.
As you do.
It's just for answering back. That's all. But yeah. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. So back to Woolwich then. So you're about to leave Woolwich and go to your regiment. They were in Germany then, weren't they?
Yeah. So I was posted like the rest of them to 3 hours here in Paderborn in Germany. Oh my God! What a fantastic 5 years that was. It was brilliant.
I was going to say that's got to be such a shock. I mean, I remember when I turned up in Gutterslow, and I was just like, and it was the day, I mean, I got put in HQ battery, and it was full of young lads like me, but it seemed to be that the guys who'd been in for a long time, like the old and crusty, like you still had like 22-year gunners and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were still knocking about. And some of the full screws, the old full screws and stuff like that, they seemed ancient. They seemed old, like really old.
Yeah.
And they were grizzled, and they weren't very nice people. You know what I mean? Until you got to know them, and then it was different. But it was
getting to know them. It was getting that tick in the box, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was more scared of them than being in training. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, totally agree with you.
Once I got invited to the Battery Bar and started getting to know them, it was probably a bad thing because I fell straight into that drinking culture that they had. The bars were still open then as well.
No, I mean, I joined D Battery 3 RHA and March, April, May, June. Like, it must be about the October, November time of 1985. And you had, I don't know if yourself have ever come across them. Anybody listening to this, the old school 3 RHA will obviously recognise the names. I had the likes of Gus McMillan, Scoops, Jonah, Cliffy Coggins, God rest him.
Yeah.
And it was a case of you're the sprog. Where the senior full screws, forget about the senior ranks and the officers. Where there's the senior junior NCOs, and you will do what we say. I got the regiment in Paderborn, and the regiment was actually on exercise, so there was only rear party left in Barker Barracks in Paderborn. But the first thing that they put me through, even though it was rear party, was a safer course. You get marched around camp. This is our HQ. This is the gym. This is that. This is that. This is the other. Ready? Okay, on you go. Left, right, and that type of thing. It was BFT after BFT, fitness after fitness, just to wear the safer in your berry.
Yeah.
And the regiment's not even there. The regiment's in Salto on exercise. It was just a rear party. So anyway, we did 4 or 5 days of that. And then, right, get your kids together, lads. Throw it in the back, the Bedford at the time. We're going to drive you to Salto and meet up with the regiment. Great, thanks. Fucking hell. Bloody hell. A young sprog, been in the regiment a week, just got his safer. And at the time, the safer was a big thing. It was a massive thing. To be RHA and wear that safer was a big thing. To flatties like yourself and I have been, but no,
Yeah.
you were RHA. You were the best of the best. Even though you weren't, you were made to feel that you were the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean,
anyway,
I never did a safer course. I think there was too many of us turned up at the same point. There wouldn't have been,
it's a big thing then. A massive
yeah, but I think
thing.
it wasn't meant for people getting put. Yeah, it wasn't meant for people getting posted in. There was like 30 of us turned up at one point or something.
Yeah, it was more meant for young sprogs like some of us coming out with training, whether it be 17 Regiment, Woolwich or Bramcote junior leaders. That was the big thing. This is your safer course. You have now achieved something because you're wearing a safer and not an artillery cap badge in your berry. We didn't have any different. That was just the way we were taught.
I don't know. I wonder if they still do them. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Not a clue. But yeah, we had some massive personalities. Like I said, Gus McMillan, Jonah, Scoops, Cliffy Coggins, Chunky Doyle. Who are you, son? Or Gun Alarm? Gun Alarm, smack in the back of the head. Gun Alarm what? Gun Alarm Bombardier? No, I'm a sergeant, smack in the back. That type of thing. So that was my induction into the regiment within D Battery. I'll tell you a story. We got there, or there was, I think there was 3 or 4 we eventually were integrated within the battery. And it was a weekend. It was a weekend. So the battery, back in them days, the German law said there was no good movement or anything like that. So the battery were in a leaguer area on the piss in a local pub. So the kit was threw off the back. Right, lads, can meet your bombardiers and your sergeants and everything down in the local pub. Down there, turn left, turn right, you'll find it. Well, okay, thanks. And I ended up sat next to I don't know if you come across him, Jonah. Do you remember Jonah? Or was probably before your time?
Yeah.
And he looked at me across this bar, this local bar in Germany, went, "You're a nig." "Yes, bombardier." "I don't like nigs," he said. He says, "What's your back?" And I thought, oh shit, what the fucking hell have I put myself in for you? But what a fantastic role he turned out to be. He just, after a few German Steiners and that's the way he was. But yeah, no, that was my welcome to D Battery 3 RSA. Then when we finished the exercise back in the day, do you remember the flats where the guns had to go on the flats?
Yeah.
On the trains to get them back from Salto and wherever to Baraban, Born or Horn or wherever. We index, thanks very much. So we put our guns on the flats. And we eventually got back to Paderborn. And I've been in the regiment, 3 weeks, if that. Back to barracks. Right, and your weapons in, lads. Okay, I had an SMG at the time. That was my personal weapon. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, shit, where's my weapon? I'd left it under the seats in the train, hadn't I? Back in Paderborn. So I went up to Jonah, of all people, Bombardier Jones. I think, in fact, no, sorry, it wasn't an SMG, it was an SLR. How big's an SLR? I left it on the train. So he punched this 2 or 3 times. Shit was took me in the back. Eh? And I mean, literally punched. Yeah. Oh, I deserved it, yeah. Threw us in the back of the Land Rover. Straight back down to Paderborn Flats where the trains went. Luckily enough, my rifle, my SLR, was still underneath the seat. How lucky was that? I mean, that train was due to leave Paderborn for other destinations within 5-10 minutes. So yeah, that was my induction into 3RHA. And that was
a good introduction to him as well. Yeah, fucking hell.
Dear me, not a chance. But no, loved it. Loved every minute. Germany, Paderborn, fantastic. Got married, which didn't last. It never was going to last. Had a quarter in Germany, and it was brilliant. You were a young kid in Germany at that time. With your wage packet was fantastic. Cheap booze, cheap fags. And it was brilliant. Loved every single minute of it. And then we got posted back to the UK.
To Colchester, which is where we joined you. Yeah.
Is that where you came when you was a collie?
Yeah. I mean, weirdly, I'd kind of seen yous beforehand.
Yeah.
So you had turned up a collie while I was in Colchester. So on a Wednesday afternoon when they were beasting us around Friday Woods, we'd see us doing dry gun, dry firing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
3-hour shift, wankers, blah blah blah.
Oh, right, yeah, donkey wallopers.
Yeah, donkey wallopers and stuff like that. Yeah. Little did I know, like 18 months later, I'd be wearing a cipher. Yeah. When my regiment said, "Oh, we're going air defence, you're all too thick. Off you go." Basically, that's what happened to us. It basically says, right, you're all stupid. We had to sit a test to see if we were going to be clever enough to be air defenders. You know what I mean? And I was like, really? What? Don't want to be an air defender anyway. And our batteries got put into... Well, my battery was 3 batteries, so that went over to 4th Regiment, like 329 Corona battery now. 4th battery went to 5 Reg and became 473. 3-1 battery went... Their name went to 470 HQ battery. And 2-1 battery stayed 2-1 battery, and they became air defence. We got shipped out all over the place, just like we ended up at 3rd.
Luckily enough, I've never come across that. Like with the regiments we've never had that sort of disbandment.
No, it's not hard, well, it kind of is at the time. I mean, I was I was married, had a kid. And your first regiment's kind of your family almost.
Exactly.
What I mean? You're very close to them. Especially we'd just come back. We hadn't long come back from Germany ourselves.
Yeah.
To Thorney Island, and Thorney Island's a really good posting. It's a really good posting, Thorney Island.
I'm off there.
We were lucky.
We'll touch on that later.
Yeah, when we got disbanded. Well, when we got pushed out to all the other regiments, so they didn't get disbanded as such. I think all the lads who were going to 3rd were looking forward to it, apart from me, because I didn't know any different about 3rd, because the older guys who were coming, they knew the CO, because he used to be BC of 3 battery.
Who was that?
David Richards.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he was then the CO of 3RHA.
Yeah.
So everyone was looking forward to, and he had a soft spot for 3 battery.
Yeah.
So all the members of 3 battery had kind of soft, he used to come down and visit type of thing, see how people were getting on. And, so us going to 3rd wasn't a big deal for a lot of people. It was for me. I didn't want to go. I wanted to stay where it was, but,
as you said earlier.
But it is what it is.
It is, but your first regiment, tends to be that's your regiment type thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what did you think when you got back from like Germany to Colchester? Because
Well, we moved. It
it's
was great.
very different, isn't it?
It is totally different. I mean, for the last 5 years, from being an 18-year-old kid from Newcastle to being married with a young son, we moved back to Colchester and everything was totally different. It was great being back in the UK because, and I remember being able to order milk and newspapers, and they used to get delivered. The milk, the newspapers got delivered through your door, and the milk was at your doorstep. I thought, this is great. This is brilliant. And it was a new equipment, so we moved from the Abbott 105s that we had in Germany to the FA70, and it was quite a good time for me in college. I got on my crew commander's course as a lance jack. So that was quite good. So that sort of set me up for the rest of my gunnery career, rather than wait to be a bombardier or a sergeant. I got in it quite early, and it was great. In UK was different, totally different. I was a little bit more mature. Well, say that. I should have been a little bit more mature, but I wasn't. That's where the marriage broke down. But career-wise, yeah, I was flying. I was doing really well. And it was we did a couple of K tours from Colchester, keeping the army in the public eye, where we went around promoting the regiment and promoting the Royal Artillery, and it was a good time. I enjoyed it. I think after 5 years of being, well, not just me, but everybody, drunken bums in Germany, then we hit reality back in the UK. It sort of calmed everybody down a little bit, and realised
Can't afford it either.
You
can't afford it either.
No, exactly. Well, you can't. No, not a chance. Not in Collie. Not in Essex anyway. But no, it was different. It was totally different soldiering, as you know yourself, from was a BUR at the time in Germany, back to UK, totally different soldiering, totally different way of life, whether you were single or married. And it was a massive shock, but I would say a good shock. We needed to come back to UK, where we had the older boat who'd been in Germany for 15 years or whatever. They needed to come back to UK, at the same time, just to calm it down a little bit. We were soldiers at the end of the day.
Yeah, you save the livers a little bit more.
Yeah, and we did a few tours. I think we went to Belize for 6 months. Was it Collie we did our first Northern Ireland tour from as well? I think it was, yeah.
You were in Northern Ireland when I got out when we joined you.
In Collie, in Colchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did. I think that was the County Tyrone tour where we did Rathfriland and them sort of places, which was different, and it was exciting. It was different. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time coming. I think the regiment as a whole were ready to come back to UK, because before that, obviously 3RHA, and then it had been independent swing fire batteries. So they'd been in Germany for years and years and years. And it was time for that team to come back and experience UK soldiering, which, as I said earlier, is totally different. But no, it was a good time.
You touched on there about the first tour you did of Ireland. So how did you find that as a young? You were still still quite a young soldier, really.
Yeah, still quite young. Still a lance bombardier. So it was a 2IC of a section. Dougie McClure, Steve McClure. He was my brick commander as a full screw, and it was different because in Germany we hadn't experienced the Cold War situation where it was exercise after exercise. but then come back to Colchester or back to UK, it suddenly became real. And it was probably the first time me personally had ever sort of done the actual job of a soldier in Northern Ireland. In Germany, you just played at it. We knew that the Russians were never going to come across the border. The Cold War was never going to happen. Come back to UK, and then all of a sudden, bang, you posted Northern Ireland. Oh shit, I've got a job to do here, and I loved it. Northern Ireland was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Rather than just gun position, cam that up, fire a few rounds, index, gun position. Do you know what I mean? It was a different sort of soldiering, and I loved it. It was brilliant. It wasn't that in a eventive tour. We didn't have that much to deal with, but that's probably the problems we were in. But it was all good experience. A lot of young gunners, lance bombardiers, and bombardiers grew up a little bit because we're actually doing so. But don't forget, since the Falklands had happened, there was nothing for any sort of British soldier to do apart from Northern Ireland. In us being stuck in Germany, like
Northern Ireland.
Yourself. Yeah.
Like
yourself.
You can't really call Cyprus an active tour, really, can you?
I mean, we did Cyprus, but it's not an operational tour. It's a great tour, and you are there to do a job, and you get a medal. But no, Northern Ireland, so I think it woke us up a little bit. This is what our job is. We're not just there to drink beers in German bars and stuff like that. But no, it was a good period.
So we've come back from Northern Ireland, back in Colchester. Soon after that, though, we moved to Topcliffe, didn't we?
Yeah, we went to Topcliffe, which was totally unexpected. As you have with the... Is that when you joined us, Topcliffe or Collie?
I joined us in Catterick in Colchester. I don't know where Catterick come from there. In Colchester. So you were in Ireland. And all from 47 turned up,
Yeah.
And there was guys from 50 Reg, there was guys from 2nd Field, from 49. All these regiments had disbanded, and we were just backfilling all other regiments. It was a bit mad. And we all arrived at the same time.
That's right.
It just filled the ranks of 3 RHA.
Well, I went to Topcliffe. Obviously, the arms plot came in, so I went to Topcliffe quite early because I was asked to go up there on the advance party and take over the quarters from was it 40 Reg at the time up there? No, 19 or 40.
19 Reg, yeah.
19 Reg. So I went up there. I was advance party, so I was probably one of the first up there, and I worked with the family's office and took over the quarters as the leaving family left. I would take over that quarter for the 3 RTA family coming in. Different. Once the regiment got there, it was a different piece of equipment. Onto ES90, which is something that was totally modern.
Yeah.
Totally different.
It was a big surprise for a lot of people.
It was a massive shock, massive surprise. And I was lucky enough because I was a DC, a detachment commander, gunnery wise, even though it was on FA70. And I think I'm right in saying that when we did the conversion course at Larkhill, all the number ones within the regiment, I was a lance bombardier at the time, and I think I'm correct in saying that I was the first lance bombardier to fire the ES90. Even through its trades and development, the junior rank to fire had been a full screw bombardier. So that's my claim to fame. I was the first lance bombardier to fire its name.
I think you've got a few more claims to fame than that, but some of them we probably can't talk about. But yeah.
Well, is there any police watching or listening? I don't know. But yeah,
I've interviewed a couple, so
No, Topcliffe again, different sort of place, totally different area of the country. With the regiment still being quite a northeast-based regiment, or its personnel, it was quite handy. And now we're on the train up to Newcastle. We were lucky enough because Allenbrook Barracks itself was just 3 RHA, so we administrated ourselves. We didn't. Catholic Garrison was where we were administrated from, but we were a separate entity. It was just us. It was just the regiment, and it was brilliant. It was great. I really enjoyed Topcliffe.
I did. I really enjoyed being there. I went 7 years there.
It was 7.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it was good. As I said, we converted to ES90. It was a new chapter for the regiment, a new chapter for everybody else, a different part of the country. I went over there, as I said, I went over there on pre-advanced party, so I was there before the rest of the regiment got there. And it was great. We did tours of Canada, tours of another tour of Belize and Kenya. And it just seemed a totally different type of soldiering to what had been in Colchester and what had been in Germany.
Thinking back, the regiment was really busy. You know,
it was really busy.
Battery, Kenya, Belize.
Was it Jamaica,
Oman, Jordan, you know, and it was constant. You know, it was like one of these overseas exercises nearly every year, or that's what it felt like anyway.
Yeah, it was. You were, to me, back in Topcliffe, and it was probably the back end of Colchester, moving up to Topcliffe. You were always busy. You were never bored. There was always something. Doesn't matter what battle you were in, there was always something happening.
Yeah. And then the tug of war team.
Sorry. Oh,
Getting dick for the tug of war team. That was it. That was a whole different kettle of fish, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was a guy. Oh, what was his name? Oh man. Well, I'd been lemming for the tug of war team back in Paderborn. And I sort of did it half-heartedly. Tubbs, Dave Chatwell, remember Tubbs, Dave Chatwell?
Yeah.
I used to share a room with him in Paderborn, and he sort of
lives on the road.
Yeah, let's do a bit tug of war. We did. Then he took it on more seriously than I sort of binned it off a little bit until we got to Collie and then Topcliffe. Dave, what was his name? Dave. He was a coach in Topcliffe. Dave.
Well, we had a couple of coaches. There was Chalky White and Dave Wardle.
Dave Wardle, that's the guy. Dave Wardle. And he sort of got me back into it. And I'm pleased you mentioned Chalky there. Oh my goodness. And yeah, so obviously then Chalky appeared on the scene, the chin, and got into the tug of war. And
I'd love to know what happened to him, you know.
Nobody knows, do they?
Nobody, just disappeared.
He's got to be still around somewhere, but I don't know. But yeah. The tug of war happened, and it was what a great time that was. You know yourself, Frankie. What a great time that was. It was.
Yeah. Win or lose, there's always the booze.
Yeah. But you were respected for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, tug of war it ended up playing a big part of my career. Really.
Yeah. It did mine in later years. And
in later years, it really did in yours, yeah. It took over quite a lot, didn't it? I mean, I was never the fittest guy in the world. So, I can't...
I wasn't either.
No. You know what I mean? But put me on a rope, and I'm totally different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people couldn't understand why I couldn't achieve, their standards of running, but I was in a regimental sports team. Even later on in my career, I was downgraded, and I was still able to do tug of war.
Yeah.
I had massive problems with compartment syndrome and stuff like that, and ended up with gangrene and this, that, and all sorts of shit. But I could still, I was best as the anchor. The easiest job, hardest job as well. Some would say. I would anyway.
I've never tried it. I would never. I'm not built for an anchor, and I would never ever try it. But from number one to anchor, everybody.
No, it's a full. It's like. Yeah, it's a proper team sport. It's one person can't give up. It is everyone on that rope's got to put 100%.
It's a unique sport, and like you say, in Topcliffe, that's when I sort of really got into it. I dabbled a little bit in Paderborn and a little bit in Colchester, but it was Dave Wardle who sort of got me into it big time in Topcliffe. It was a fantastic side. I was doing well. I'd been promoted to Bombardier. I had my own gun. I was a gun number one of the first full screws in the regiment to be a gun number one on the AS90. New piece of equipment. It was exciting. And we were doing well as a regiment. We were doing fine. Being from the northeast, we were up north, even though it was in the northeast. It was North Yorkshire. We were still in and around. So visiting my family wasn't a problem. It was like 45 minutes on the train. It was great. Then the marriage broke down, and it wasn't so great. But that's life. As it happens, I got posted for, I think it was about 4-6 weeks. When me and Pam had problems and we split, to get me out of the scenario, they put me down in Lockhill for 4 weeks. Then I met back up with the regiment when they came down on an exercise. So that's the down part of that time up in North Yorkshire. But in total, I remember finishing work, I don't know, 11:30, 12 o'clock on a Friday, and then being at Blackie's Arms and the blacksmiths and whatever in by 1:30, and Chorty White coming in, and the whole regiment coming in, the whole battery, because I think Blackie's was a day battery pub, and we used to stay there until like 12:30, 1:30 Monday morning, and then back to camp, back on battery parade again on the Monday. It was just mad. It was just a mad time.
So where did you go after Topcliffe then? Because I kind of lost touch with you. That was like the last time I kind of knew you type of thing.
Yeah, I asked Cliffy Collins, who was BSM at the time with D Barry. I went to see him and said, Cliff, God rest his soul, Cliffy. I need a break. I've been guns for 15 years. I need a break. And he says, not from Dave. I can understand where you're coming from. We'll get you an ERE, a nice, comfortable ERE. I said, Cliff, I've got guns ringing in my ears for the last 15 years, from being the brew boy to being a number one / section commander. I need a break. Where did he post his team? 3-4 Barry. Do you know what I mean? Here's me expecting a nice sort of cushy 2 years in a recruitment office, or even phase 1 training or phase 2 training. No, 3-4 Barry. And what does 3-4 Barry do? You answer the question, Frankie. You've been it. The most gunnery you can ever come across in your life. So yeah, so here's me asking the BSM.
Before we move on to that, let's go back a bit. And I know you probably want to talk about this, don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
I think you know where I'm going with this. I think you know where I'm going. So, as people who are listening to this remember the tour we had in '97 and what happened.
Yeah, so I haven't skipped through that on purpose.
No,
but yeah,
no, I want to drag you back to that.
No, that's fine.
We lost 2 guys, Stevie Restrick and Coops. And Coops was a really good mate of mine and Dave's. They came from the tug of war team. That's why I wanted to jump back on. I'm just snaking off the tug of war team. It was a tough time for everybody. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So Topcliffe, North Yorkshire, Topcliffe. And as I said, I didn't skip through it on purpose. It didn't slip my mind. But yeah, so we Northern Ireland, 1996. We went there on a 6-month tour. South O'More. Sorry, that was the missus just closing the door. She's coming for the thing. South O'More. 4-man teams, as you know. And then I had a guy on we in D Barry, I don't know what it was like in the other bars. We trying to keep your gun crews within your sections or your teams in Northern Ireland, so you knew the guys and everything else. So John Coops was in my team, bless him. Lovely lad from Birmingham, 19-year-old. And it's probably the most, well, I wouldn't say traumatic, but thing that still affects me today from my whole 37-year career in the army. We lost Stevie, as we know.
Yeah.
The IRA, the South Armagh sniper, got Stevie arrested, bless his heart, at Bestbrook. And then it was down to the likes of myself and every other team commander or multiple commander to break the news to your to your sections. And I just remember getting briefed off, I think it was called Britain. Like, lads, you've got to go away and brief the lads, and this is what I'm Stevie Restick, unfortunately, has been shot by a sniper, and we've lost him. So I got the lads on my team in a room and broke the news to him, and I can just remember John Cooper's face. He just went white. He's similar sort of age. I'm not sure they did training together.
I believe they did, yeah.
I think they did. I don't know if they were in the same truce, but I think the paths crossed quite often in training. And they joined the regiment round about the same sort of time. And from that day onwards, Coops was Coops. He was never going to be a general. He was never going to be a brigadier or even a sergeant. He was Coops. He was a lovely lad. We had in Middletown. We had the front sanger and the back sanger.
Yeah.
And in the front sanger, remember Vengeful, the vehicle recognition computer.
Yeah.
Coops couldn't handle it, and Coops said to me about 2 weeks before we lost Stevie Restick, Dave, I can't do that. Can I just go in the back sanger, man GPMG, and I went, yeah, okay, not a problem, that's fine. The other three, myself and the other two lads in the team, will do the front sanger. Every time we're on sanger duties or security based duties, I'll put you in the back. Brilliant, cheers, thanks. Then it was my birthday, and remember the 2-can rule, as if we ever stuck with it. Yeah,
2 jerry cans.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Coops walked in the bar in Middletown with this fucking humongous cake, birthday cake, and I'm thinking, where have you got that from? Happy birthday to you, happy birthday. So this is the type of lad he was.
Yeah.
Crap soldier, really, and I will say that in everybody here, he was a crap soldier, but he was a lovely lad. He
was only young though, so I mean we're all craply young.
He was 19. I was the same at 19.
But,
You were probably the same at 19.
Yeah.
He was a crap soldier, but he was a lovely lad and he had potential. But he come in with this cake on my birthday, and we're in the middle of the South Armagh. Where are we getting that from? Oh, my parents bought it, and they've got a local sort of cake maker to make it in. So that was the type of one. So anyway, yeah, we lost Stevie, and you could tell he was worried.
Yeah.
And as I said, he didn't want to do the front sanger. It was too busy, and he just used to go in the back sanger. So I got a phone call one morning that the multiple commander had caught him asleep in the back sanger. Fucking hell, Cooks, what are you doing? You've been caught asleep. You can't sleep. Fucking hell, blah, blah. It was rustling in the carpet. And about a week later, again, on the 12th of February, I got a phone call in the front sanger from the multiple commander. Sort him out. I have just been up there in the back sanger, and I had to physically force the hatch open because he was lying asleep on the hatch. No, you're having a laugh. You're joking. Leave it to me. I'll sort it. Rings him up on the intercom. Coops, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've just let yourself down. You've let me down. You've let the whole multiple down. You only caught last week and warned about it. I'm sorry, Dave. It'll not happen again. And I said, right, when we finish this stag, come and see me. You're in the shit, mate. I've had enough. You're in the shit. And I put the intercom down. 10 minutes later, there was not that we heard it, there was a muffled noise from the back singer. And I will find this hard a little bit, but I'll get through it. I'll be all right. I get an intercom call from the ops room. Have you heard from Coops? I went, no, not since I said come and see me when we finish the stag. Right, okay. We've been trying to contact them for 5 minutes and we've had nothing. So I runs out the singer and starts making me up to the back singer, which is across a little courtyard. Lindsay Coulthard is there, because I think he was manning the ops room at the time. We make way up the steps, and we couldn't get in the back singer. You know, if you can picture it, as you know yourself, but for people who haven't been in that situation, you got up the sangers up the steps, and then you've got the hatch door at the top, and that's how you open it. And his body was laying across it, and he put a 7.62 or 5.56 round it through his brain. So that was that. And obviously, all the alarm bells went, the panic buttons went, and everything. Me being his team commander was relieved of my rifle, because I wasn't deemed fit to, or in a fit state of mind to be in charge of a rifle with live rounds, with the rest of my team as well. And then we started to process what happened. We weren't told everything. All we were told that was there'd been, well, me and Lindsay had seen it and smelt it. And then obviously all the police and whatever came, and the other authorities came, and statements and everything. So yeah, so then it got into my head that because I'd bollocked him and called him all the names under the sun, a wanker and everything, it was my fault. And that's the last words he heard, and this is hard, this is the hard bit. The last words he heard was my voice, bollocking him basically, saying, "You're a waste of space, you've let me down." After the guy a couple of months earlier had just organised a birthday cake for us, I'm telling him, "You've let us down, you've let not just me, but the battery, all your mates, you're a waste of space, come and see me when we finish this." And I think that was the exact words. And then 5 minutes later, or 2 to 5 minutes later, he blew his brains out. And that's lived with me for well, since that day. So yeah, that was it. Obviously, after losing Stevie Restrick, we were all down. Horrible scenario with that. And then the John de Coops scenario. And I think that was probably my worst time in the army. I've had a fantastic army career and I don't regret anything. I've done some bad things in the army, but I don't regret them. Yeah. But I think that was my rorke's drift, if you want to put it that way, for one of the better words. Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, you're right. It affected a lot of people.
It did. Yes, it did. And I think I was quite selfish thinking that it had just affected me. And it lasted, and it still does last to this day. We had pictures taken of the team in the multiple. I found myself waking up 3-4 o'clock in the morning next to a bottle of gin and cuddling the picture. Back then there was, well, we weren't offered any counselling. I know, listening to your podcasts with other guys, more recently, there's counselling these days, which is great. Which, you know, our armed forces with Iraq and Afghan and everything are fantastic, and they should be given every possible help that's available to them. And I'm so pleased it's moved on now.
It had to move on. It had to.
It had to. It had to.
Yeah.
I think we had half an hour with some Northern Ireland councillor who sat in the TV room and said, "You got any problems? You. No. And that was it. And that was it. That was the council we had. We didn't have anything. And then we had to go through, obviously, the repatriation of the body. And it was just a weird situation. Because you're in Northern Ireland, you expect to lose people, like we did with Stevie. And you could understand that. But with Coops, I couldn't get my head around it. It wasn't.
You're right.
It wasn't directly terrorism, but indirectly it was. And that guy, he sat there on his bunk bed and cried into my arms and said, "I can't go on them streets because of what's happened to Stevie." And I said to him, "You have to. This is your job. This is what you get paid for. I'll protect you as much as I can. But at the end of the day, we have to get over this." What happened in Jay Barry with Steve Resnick is horrible, but we still have a job to do. And he couldn't get that. As we said, touched on earlier, he was 19 he was in the tug of war team with us. He was never going to be a general. He was never going to be a sergeant. But he was Coops, and he was a fantastically funny bloke. And he got me through the first 4 months in Northern Ireland with his humour.
He always had a fucking smile on his face.
Yeah, exactly.
Always.
And what's wrong with that? And who's to say in the future he couldn't have matured and went on to have a fantastic, army career?
Yeah. We'll never know, unfortunately.
No. So
I mean, like you're saying, it affected, a lot of people. I mean, I know I've told you before about how I found out and how I reacted to it. And it was, again, there was beer involved, poaching.
Yeah.
Dragging the beast out with his fucking bed in the middle of the night.
With that particular situation, there's been a lot of beer involved with me. And I will be honest, I'm not over it. It's easier. God knows how many years later it is. It's easier. And I always remember him. And I know the other lads do as well. Remember him together. It was just a strange situation. It wasn't. And I fought with the Northern Ireland Commission, Veterans Society, to get Coops' name added to the veterans of Northern Ireland who have lost their lives. Even though it wasn't terrorism related, to me it was, because if Stevie Restrick hadn't been brutally murdered by IRA terrorists, Coops wouldn't have been in that state of mind. If that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense to me.
But I always put that as Coops was a victim of terrorism in an indirect sort of way. But I blame myself, and I always will. Like I said, it's getting easier. God knows how many. Well, I don't know how many years we are on now. But I still think I could have handled it slightly different in the words the last words.
You can't think that, mate.
I do, and I get what you're saying, Frankie, and I understand that. And you're not the first person. Everybody said that to me, but that is in me, and I will always think that like I said, it gets easier. And I have spoke to people. I have sought out sort of professional help about it. It took a long time, and a long time to admit to things. As you know yourself, and others listening to the podcast and who have contributed to your podcast, it's a weird thing. It's just strange. It's a personal thing, a weird thing. But that's part of me. That's part of my DNA now. That's who I am. And that's the way it was dealt with, and that's the way I deal with it now. And it'll never change. It'll never change. And then it was things afterwards. It was like we had the memorial service in Ripon for both Stephen Restrick and Coops, where both families were there. That was hard. that was really, really hard. And prior to that, obviously, the funeral and the battery commander, the battery at the time, the family had asked for somebody to say the eulogy at the funeral. And the BC said, rather than come from me as an officer, it should come from somebody who really knew him. Would you like to do it? And straight away I went, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. Not realising what I was put myself forward for. And then I sat there for days and days and days, well, for a week before the funeral. And I wrote this eulogy. And that stand up, hardest thing I've ever done in my life. That stand up in front of this guy's funeral, this guy's family, friends, my friends from the regiment, my mates. And I read this eulogy that I wrote, and I was honest, and I did say it, and I've said it prior. Coops was never going to be a general. Coops was probably never going to be a sergeant major, but he was Coops, and he was our Coops, and I wanted to put it from the heart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we got back to where the wake was. I think it was a cricket club, and his family were there, and they all come up and shook my hand and said thank you, and that meant so much. Do you know what I mean? And I thought,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be horrible and nasty in what I said. I was just trying to be honest, and they really thanked me. So yeah, so that was probably, and you know, with the mental health issues and stuff, you're always too good for that. You always think, I haven't got these issues. I haven't got these mental health problems. But you have, deep down, you have. It may not be as bad as some, but it's always in there, mate. And
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. You know, we can put stuff in boxes.
And I tell you what, mate, that is I've spoke that what I've just said there. I know we've done this podcast before, and we decided not to broadcast it for medical issues, but I think that there is probably the most time I've ever opened up on anything. Apart from, I think it was 2 years ago, I love Remembrance Sunday, and we go to Remembrance Sunday with the regiment, with priority in March at the cenotaph. And it was 2 years ago, and I think Lee Horn touched on this on his podcast. For some strange reason, something got to me that day, and I broke down in tears and had to run out of a pub. Me running out of a pub. I'm normally running to the bar. But I had to run out of the pub. So my mates, Spud Smith, Lee Horton, Dougie McClure, Jace Greasley, the Tap Sheddon, I didn't want them to say like that. And I ran out the pub and I broke down in tears. I stood outside the pub and I had with 10 fags in about 3 minutes. And I think that's the first time I've ever saw it explain to anybody what had happened and then tonight. People know, and people are aware, but it's just them last words, mate. It's them. Yeah. I don't want to harp on about it, but it's them last words. The last words he heard were my words, and they weren't very nice. And that still gets to me, and it always will. But there we go.
I mean, you know, I could sit here and say, can't blame yourself. Nobody knew his state of mind and stuff like that.
I agree, totally agree.
But you know, it's how you feel. You know, and like that's the way. You know, we'll touch on it now. You're saying about it didn't affect you till later on. I know that things didn't affect me badly until round about 12 years after I'd left the army. Yeah. And I ended up getting counselling as well. And speaking to people in that field, it's quite common. And again, I've noticed that when we've been talking to people on a podcast who've been out quite a while, it's again quite common. Between 10 and 12 years of leaving the service is like it's like you can't keep the lid on the box anymore.
No, it's like when you
You
still
know,
that
yeah.
you've got something
No,
to
we
hold
get
on
some,
to.
we
And
get
you
taught.
can keep the lid
You
on the
know,
box, like you say.
yeah. But we more or less get not taught, but you know, I don't know, subliminally taught
Yeah,
to put stuff in boxes. You know, no one's saying to you don't think about that. You put it in a box, right? You do that because that's the way we were. That's the way we were, not just as soldiers, but as men. You know,
yeah,
and it was society. It was a societal thing, and it always has been. So we were putting stuff in boxes, and you know, you compartmentalise that little box for that, that little box for that, that little box for that. What happens with some people, like what happened with me, is you don't have lots of boxes to put it in. You just have one box, and you just keep putting things in that box, and all of a sudden you can't close the lid, and
yeah,
it just explodes. And
yeah,
you can only
exactly.
keep hold of it for so long, and then all of a sudden it might be something else that triggers it, completely unrelated to your memories and your experiences.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
that is so
it
true, right?
happens. Yeah,
It happened to
but
me.
again,
I think it was two.
talking about it has to be done. You have to
It's got to be
talk.
done, but I think I know I am. I'm so reluctant to talk about it because I think it's personal. I know I have to, and I know I
Hmm.
don't have to, but it will do good. And as I said, apart from 2 years ago in London and then tonight, I know like I said, we've done this podcast before, but I didn't come
Yeah,
across it by then. Um, and funny what you've just said there. I think it was 2 weeks ago, and this just proves how good your mates are, your ex-army mates are. For some reason, I got really depressed for about Goose, and I don't know why. There was no. I was stood in this kitchen where I am now, cooking Sunday dinner, and this big black cloud just came over me, and I burst in tears, and I couldn't understand why, and it was all Coops related or that situation related. Straight on Messenger, we've got this group called Old Fuckwits. That's me, Smudge. Yeah. What a stupid name to call it. And all my
it's about right though.
no, exactly. And they were there, every one of them, straight away. Stop over, Dave. We understand where you come from. But like you say, though, it's just something that'll trigger it off.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It used to be songs with me, and groups of all people being a brummie, for some reason he was into Boyzone. Every time I used to hear a Boyzone song, I'd burst out crying. I'd hug the photographs. I got over that bit, but now and again, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. There's something somewhere which sets the trigger off,
Yeah.
and you just need them guys at the end of a phone or the end of a message. You say, "Come on, mate, snap out of it, have a drink or whatever." And do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. You can't control the way your brain works, no matter what you think. You can't.
No.
With so one
I
thing you
know
developed.
sensibly as an adult, I know that that situation was not my fault. But
Yeah.
me being the young full screw I was at the time, and me being Lammy, Dave Lamb, I still do, and it still does affect us every single day. But
You know,
that's who it is.
you can't control it. I mean, one thing that that developed with me was a weird thing. I developed an issue where, and it had been happening for a while, and I only found out why because of the counselling. So I
Yeah,
had this thing where I'd be going to work or I'd be doing something, and I'd think I'd left the gas on, or I hadn't locked the back door, and it became almost OCD, and it still slightly is. And I didn't used to do that. I didn't used to do it. And it used to get that bad that I'd be driving to work. I'd get like to the gates of work, and it would be that overpowering, that feeling, that I'd have to turn around and drive all the way back home
no, I get
just
that.
to
Yeah,
make sure.
yeah,
You know, and what that is, as we found out or as I discovered, I kind of self-diagnosed myself with the counsellor, and she was like, "You bang on, but you've done that yourself, so well done." And
yeah,
what that is, it's his brain. It's your brain's concentrating on something. It's hyper focusing on something to stop you thinking about something else.
Yeah.
So this part of the brain wants to think about this, and this part of the brain's going, no, you're not thinking about that. What's that
Let's
upset
think
you?
about it.
Concentrate
No,
on this.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, fucking hell, you know, your brain's mad. You don't control it. You know, you have thoughts that pop in your head, and you can't control them thoughts. You know, they're just you like, you know, so, you know, like you can have the weirdest thing. You know, like that thing when you're stood on a cliff and you want to jump off.
Yeah.
You know, that's your brain, and you're just like, what the fuck? You're just like, oh, I don't want to jump off, but what would it be like? And it should be, you know, your subconscious is going, oh, go on,
Exactly.
go on.
Exactly. And, I mean, you must hear this not week in, week out with the podcasts, but it obviously has, because you can see how it's physically and emotionally effective because of the comments you've made on various podcasts. But for you to sit there and take everybody's guilt or just pouring the heart out to you, by God, mate, that takes some doing.
I mean, like I said before we started recording today, it did for a while. It got me. But I've kind of learned now to not step away from it. But I can handle it a bit more. You know what I mean? It's
to listen and
practice type of thing.
Well. Yeah.
And like I said to you, you know, everyone needs someone to talk to, and I've got someone to talk to. You know, Mounty's been fucking great. You know, he really has. And you know, I'm gonna have to fucking. I mean, I haven't seen him for years, type of thing. But you know, he's my escape. He listens to me rabbiting on, which is great. And I've got another mate called Chris, who was 39. He did the first ever podcast with us, and he's the same. You know, he knows when I need to talk.
Yeah.
Because for some reason he just does. And he'll either ring me up or I'll message him on Facebook, and then we'll natter for an hour, 2 hours, and that's my escape. And I'm glad I've got it. You know, but you know that is what it is. So right, let's move on away from that then.
Yeah.
So before we get too morbid, I don't know why I'm laughing.
Lark Hill. We went to Lark Hill after that. I got posted Lark Hill.
So, yeah.
I need a break
so
from
come
guns.
on then.
Yeah, so I need a break from guns, Cliffy Coggins. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He puts us the 3-4 Barry for 2 years. Great. On the ranges every day. But I tell you what, mate, and you know yourself, because you've been there and we were there together, I loved every minute of Lark Hill and 3-4 Barry. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
It is. I mean, I know I've said this many times on this podcast, that you get told you were going on a course, right? You're off to the school. Oh, fuck's sake, I don't want to go to the school.
Yeah.
Shit. There's too many fucking headsheads there. Yeah. There's too many like high ranking around there. There's this, that, there's bullshit. Right, you're going to 3-4 Barry. Oh, I don't want to go to 3-4 Barry. It's the school. You get there and you don't want to come back.
No,
I fought to try and stay there. They wouldn't let me do it.
I loved it. I got an extension. I think I did nearly 3 years in 3-4 Barry. And it was brilliant. I looked every minute out. When I got there, it was a bloke. I think it was Pete Smith was the BSM. In fact, no, it was Geordie. Oh, forget his name. Extra tier battery 3 hours here. He used to bring the FA-70 in action on his own. Geordie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't remember his name. He owned a truck company, you know.
Hey?
He owned a truck company.
He probably wouldn't be surprised.
He did. He found out, right? He found out I used to be a clerk. I can't remember his fucking name.
Little Geordie lad he was.
Yeah.
He was my first BSM anyway, 3-4 Barry. Then there was a guy called Pete Smith. And it was Tony Gilardi. And me and Tony got on brilliant, as you know Tony very well. Again, he revived my sort of interest in tug of war. And I ended up coaching the women's team, taking them to London for the Westminster poll, against the House of Parliament, against the
I never got to do that.
Did you know? I
never got to
did
do
as the
that.
coach
No.
with the women's team. But yeah, 3-4 Barry was fantastic. Busy, very, very busy, but very rewarding as well.
Yeah.
At my time, so I was D Troop. Was it D Troop? AS-90. So we had AS-90 and light gun. And I was lucky enough, when I was there, to get put forward for Up Long Look in Australia.
Yeah.
And I think I remained in the battery about 2 months. So I went across there and did 6 months up long look with the Australian artillery, the School of Artillery at Puckapunyal. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic time. The guy who came to 3-4 battery, the sergeant from the Australian artillery, I think he ended up doing 4 months in the Falklands. 3-4 battery posted up in the Falklands, and I think I fired about 25 rounds in my whole 6 months I was in Australia. They just kept giving us a car and throwing his car keys and say, go and explore Australia, go to the Gold Coast, go and see this. It was absolutely fantastic, absolutely brilliant.
I was just about to say, like, what's the difference between the Australian artillery and the British artillery? But it sounds like you didn't get to see much of it. So,
well, I didn't. No, I didn't. The thing is, the BC, the Australian Base Battery Commander, had done the officer sort of exchange, and he said when he was in UK, they treated him fantastically. So that was his goal, was to treat me the same. The very first day, I turned up to introduce myself to the BC in his office, and I'm not lying. He threw me a car key and a work ticket and a fuel card and said, "Right, I'll see you in 3 weeks." What do you mean, sir? Go and see Australia. And then the guy who's replacing me is in the Falklands firing a light gun. I think I've scored here. But no, so yeah, that was a 3-4 battery. Absolutely fantastic, brilliant. So my time was coming to end at 3-4 battery, and I was due to go back to Horner. And I thought, well, I've only got a few years left. I don't really want to go back to Germany. And I got a whisper, Tony Gelati, bless him. He sort of put me to one side. He said, I've heard a whisper on the grapevine. There's a place up at Estra for a gun senior NCO. I said, what's Estra? He says, it's a sales team, you twat. Okay, yeah, no problem. So I had to go.
What's Estra? Is that place the other side of camp?
Yeah, that place that everybody walks around in tracksuits and things like that. Oh yeah, I'll have some of that. So I had to go for an interview. Actually, I had an interview with the OC. Lucky enough, I got the position, but it was just at the time when M777 was sort of rearing its head. So I was the number one in M777, and that piece of equipment was brilliant to me. It got me to India, to America, to Paris, to all over Europe and the world, promoting it and trying to get other foreign dignitaries and governments to buy that piece of equipment. And that posting, the gun senior NCO at the Export Support Team Royal Artillery, has to be the best job in the Royal Artillery. It's absolutely fun. You're wined and dined by BAE Systems and Thales in the best hotels. Yeah, it was brilliant, and that's how I ended up. My artillery career was there, and again, it was a 2-year posting, but I got a year's extension, so I ended up doing 3 years there. Fantastic, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I mean, I interviewed Chris Brown. Who did time there as well.
Chris was there.
Yeah, and he loved it. Yeah, he loved it. Yeah. So, I mean, Smudge was there as well, wasn't he?
Smudge was there after I left. Smudge went there as BQMS. So Smudge didn't do the Sunshine tours. He was issuing sort of poncho rolls and jerry cans and stuff. And I think he's a bit gutted about that.
Yeah, wouldn't you?
I was lucky though, because it was the time when M777 was the thing, and I was the face of M777.
I don't know why we never bought it.
I tell you why we didn't, because Iraq and Afghan was happening at the same time, and it was costing too much money, and the MOD decided certain projects had to be scrapped, and that M777 project was one of the projects that they decided to scrap. The MOD wanted to buy it, but they just couldn't afford it. America bought it, India bought it, the Canadians bought it, Chinese bought it, and it's gone on, and it's the reports that came back at the time from Afghan and everything that are fantastic about it. It's a fantastic. It looks horrible, but it's a fantastic piece of kit.
I mean, it reminds me of FH70. It just looks like a a
It's a
more
big,
modern version
yeah,
of FH70.
a more digital version of FA70. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it I'd like to work with it within an operational regiment. I don't know, but trying to sell it around the world, what a job! It was absolutely fantastic. It was brilliant, absolutely
So
brilliant.
where was the best place you went with that then?
America, California, the 3 month teaching. When the Americans bought it, there was three of us. There was me, Chris Shears. You ever come across Chris Shears?
Not sure.
And a guy called John Smith, Smud Smith, two Smigs. I got me acting W2 through it. We went across and taught the American trainers. So the trainers who were going to be teaching the American Marine Corps and the American Artillery, we went across and taught them.
Yeah.
Paid for by BAE Systems, working with BAE Systems in the best hotels, wined and dined for 6, 7, 8 weeks or whatever it was. And it's just fantastic, mate. It was just a different world, a totally different world. It was brilliant. It's a
missed out on
subject.
shit like that.
The best, the gun, being a SMIG at Estra, obviously you've got a bit of responsibility. Being the gun senior and seeing the NCO at Estra, you haven't got anything in. It's fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And then my time got over and time to leave. I had to leave the army.
How did you find that then? Because what did you do when you left MPGS? Did you do that straight away or?
Virtually straight away, not straight away. I worked for it. I became a bailiff. On getting repayments of council tax for those who hadn't paid the council tax. Knocking on the door saying on the 23rd of December, knocking on somebody's door saying, I need 250 quid or I'm taking your TV. You know what I mean? So
Soul destroying.
Oh yeah, what a shit job it is. I get it. Understand why the government has to do it, but it's a shit job. And I hated it. I hated every minute of it. But I was still lucky enough because I was just as I left the artillery, I was so busy at Estra, I hadn't really thought about what I was going to do in the future. BAE Systems had offered me a job doing what I was doing at Estra, but wearing a suit. But because the project fell through, that then fell through. So I'm thinking, I'm leaving the army in 6 months. I've got a job, a 50 grand job a year with BAE Systems, not a problem. But it fell through, and I didn't have a backup plan, so I had to go bailiff. But I was lucky enough to get a job with one of the cadet teams as a cadet instructor, sort of like an ERE type thing.
Yeah. So
I did that for a while, and then I missed it. And I'll be honest, I missed the army, so I joined MPGS and did 9-10 years in MPGS. At Yorberton, the Royal Navy. Sorry?
Just going to go back to leaving the army. And you touched on there that it was hard, and you hadn't got stuff planned and stuff like that. How do you feel How do you feel did the military helped you leave? Did the transition? Do you feel as though that did help, or did the regiment just wash their hands of you?
I think back then that there wasn't that much help. As I said, it was my fault. I kept myself busy, and I came back from, I think it was America the second time, and I only had 3 weeks left, and that was me TX date. And so I hadn't prepared. It was my fault. I hadn't prepared. But no, back then I don't think that there was that much help and support.
I don't think there's any help and support.
Well, I think when I left the MPGS, there was. I think the times have changed.
Yeah.
But I think that's because I didn't get a chance to transition from military into Civvy Street. That's why I missed it so much, and I did miss it. I really missed it. I missed the bullshit. I missed everything about it. And that's why I joined MPGS.
So what was that like? I mean, I've got no experience of that. I've spoken to guys who've done it, like
MPGS is
like Petey and that, and
I
think Petey kind of enjoyed it. He's not doing it now.
It's different. you still you're a regular soldier. You're on a different contract. You're not deployable, which is good for me because I was ended up being diagnosed with diabetes, so I couldn't be in, as you know yourself, within the.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the regular army because MPGS is the regular army. Within the field army, if you've got diabetes, type 1 or type 2, you can't be deployable. So I was
No, I
lucky.
wasn't. I mean, I was diagnosed 4 years before I got out, and I was lucky
Yeah,
because I was downgraded anyway through my legs.
yeah,
So it was just another tick on the box, really, because I was doing a desk job anyway.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but it was a shock. It's fucking. When I got told I had it, I
Oh,
thought
sorry.
the world was going to end.
Yeah, I did. I still do
I
some
didn't know
nights.
nothing
Yeah.
about it. I
I've
mean,
had I've had two I've had two
yeah,
major hospital visits because of me diabetes. But with the MPGS, it was remember Gus McMillan used to be Sea Barry. He died
yeah,
unfortunately, and we went to the funeral because I lived in Wiltshire at the time, and his funeral was at Larkhill, and it was Frosty Ford. Remember Mark Ford, Frosty Ford?
yeah.
Do you know? At the week afterwards, what are you doing now? He says, oh, I'm MPGS. I said, what's that? I have never heard that. He says, and he explained what it was. So I'll have some of that. Because I'd come from Horner to Larkhill, never come across MPGS.
No,
So Frosty explained what it was. He he gave me the tools to get in touch with the recruiting team and that. I applied for it and got it quite quickly. But I'd never heard of it. And it was just like a big weight released from my shoulders. I was back in the you work on a different contract. You're not deployable, but you are regular army, and you're back working with similar type people to yourselves. And it was just like a big weight being lifted from my shoulders, thinking I can handle this. I know what I'm doing there again now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not in the
and
murky waters of Civvy
it's
Street.
an extra pension.
And it's a good pension, yeah. I've got a fantastic pension now at the minute. It's great, but no, but it's just something that you can relate to. It's reliable. It's like I say, it's not deployable, and it does get mundane and boring. It's staggering on as you used to do as a young gunner, young lance jack, whatever. But yeah, but no, it saved me. It was my sort of soul saviour, being back in and around the military again, where you think it's gone. But no, I enjoyed it. MPGS, a lot of people slag it off, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. And if you can hack it, then it's fine. And as you said, it's a fantastic pension booster.
I mean, I'll admit, when I was due to leave, it was kind of, MPGS. People, why don't you do that? And I was just like, I don't want to go back in uniform.
No, I get that. I
I
understand
don't.
that. Yeah.
But if I had my time again, I might have chose it. Knowing now
Yeah.
if I knew then what I know now,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have chosen it. But it would have been higher on the list.
Yeah.
And now, but
The
it's
thing,
quite hard to get in it up this end.
yeah, no, exactly, because down here it's a little bit different. They offered me Larkhill. My first MPGS posting was Larkhill. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I've just left there, walking out the Sons Mess. No, you're asking me to go back on the gate as a private soldier when all my ex-colleagues and mess colleagues and mates are coming in on a Friday night with a mess dress on, thinking, you know what I mean? I thought, no, I'm not having that. No. So I went to Yeovil to me. I couldn't handle that.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle that. So I did that 9-10 years in MPGS, and then it became promotion was a bit dead man's shoes. I moved to Exeter with my current partner, Deb, who I've been with for 7 years. So I tried to get Livingston Commando Training Centre as MPGS, but it was just impossible. So I was travelling an hour back to Yeovilton in Somerset. I thought, I've just had enough of this. So I decided to leave. Luckily enough, a position within the MGS, the Military Guard Service, came up, the MOD came up at Lympston. I applied for that and got it. So it was, again, back staggering on gates. As a civilian MGS security officer. That was back in September 3 years ago. I did that.
So that's just doing the same job but without a weapon.
It's the same job, yeah. It's ministry, the civil service, working for the Ministry of Defence. It's the guys you see wearing the ice cream hats and the white shirts, not armed. Most sites these days have got MPGS, which is the armed cover, which I was previously.
Yeah.
But they do the armed side of it. But the MGS, Ministry of Defence Guard Service, do the pass checking in the patrols and stuff like that. So I was lucky enough to get that. I did that for 4 months. Then a supervisor's job came up, so I put in for that and got that. So I was I went from a security officer to supervisor, and then in January this year, just gone, the OM's job, the operation manager's job, came up. I put in for that and got that. So I'm now desk bound and I'm the boss, and it's great. No gates, no patrols, no stags. I work.
So you're basically the guard commander.
Well, I'd say I tell you what. Back in, I would say, as a supervisor, you're the guard commander.
The provost sergeant, then.
As the security operator, I'll give it my full title: security operations manager. I'd say I'm more like a BSM type thing,
right?
Or a TSM. No, that's probably big enough. A TSM, I'd say. I'm a Tony Giuliani when he was a TSM. Put it that way. But no, so it's great. So I'm still in and around the military, not in it, even though the bootnecks and they're crazy and they're mad, and you see them do them stupid commando courses, and you think, "Thank fuck I didn't go for that." But yeah, it's great. I work, instead of shift work, 12-hour shifts. I now work Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock till 3:30 ish, and it's great. I love it. It's brilliant. Still around the military, but not in it.
Well, I mean, you sound as though you're enjoying it, and you've landed on your feet. You know,
it's been a journey, mate. It's been a ride. It's been one of them Blackpool pleasure rides with marriages and relationships and deaths and births and blah blah blah. But yeah, no, I'm in a good place at the minute, and a lot of it is to do down to the likes of yourself, things like this, and the likes of Lee Horton, Spud Smith, Mick Sheehan, the lads. My friends, I can rely on, and they've got me through a lot. And I like to think I've got them through a lot as well. And that's what it's all about, mate, as you know yourself.
Yeah.
You just look back and laugh at things.
I mean, like, before I started doing the podcast, I hadn't been in touch with anyone for nigh on 12 years, really. And since I started doing these, 9 months ago, I've got back in touch with so many people and spoke to so many different people who I've never met.
Yeah.
That can I say it's enriched my life? It has a little bit. You know what I mean?
Definitely changed it, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely changed it. It's given me different outlooks as well, and different understandings. Because one thing that I think everyone in the military is guilty of is being very insular in their own regiment. So you don't understand what's happening in the tankies. You don't understand what's happening in the infantry and stuff like that. And I've discussed it with a guy that very recently. I interviewed him last week. It'll have already been out by the time this one comes out. So he was what do they call it? Queen's bloody, I forgot the tankies that changed to Retty. It doesn't matter. But he was Navy before he did that. And, I was like talking to him, and I said, I didn't appreciate what other arms did until I ended up working on the FPC at Battle Group Headquarters.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you see a bigger picture, and he was working in Brigade Recce, and he was out in Afghan doing FSTs and stuff like that. And then he goes, yeah, I worked with the artillery a lot. I was on tour a lot with Jimmy Hill, and I was just like, fucking what? That's just your joke. I fucking know Jimmy. Yeah, and I'd never met this guy before in my life, and we had a discussion about that. But it's nice to see the other side. I've spoken to guys in the RAF, and the guys in the Navy, and seeing how they work, different parts of the military work, is quite interesting. And it's also very similar. A squaddie's a squaddie's a squaddie. Giving fags, giving booze, giving someone to fight on a Saturday night, and he's happy. Well, not so much now. The army's changed quite a lot.
A very lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
When you first started this, it was like we all knew who you were interviewing, and you think, "Oh, I'll listen to that because I recognise some stories from it." Then it got a little bit more diverse, and it was not just the artillery or your people you'd serve with. You think, "Oh, I'll listen to that one. Oh, that was interesting." Then it'll be back again to somebody Then the next week you'll be, "Oh, he's in free, or he's whatever," or the one you did about the Gunner Fest type thing. The totally different thing. But that's what makes it interesting, though, because it's not just me, it's not just Ginge, it's not just Matt, it's not just Lee Horn, it's not just the people You've branched out to others, which makes it really, really more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it has been. It has been for me, and I've got a load more to record and a load more already recorded that aren't artillery. So it'll be right. Well, anyway, Dave, I think we've come to the end of that. Then we've come to the end of your career, and you're still stagging on. Well, you're not. You're on the desk. You more or less are. Yeah.
I'm ready to desk. I haven't been on a case
as long as you're happy, that's all that counts, mate, isn't it?
No, pretty much.
Right, I'll stop the recording now, mate. 2 seconds.